The concierge wouldn't meet my eyes when he slid the room key back across the marble counter. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said quietly. "Your reservation was cancelled." Behind me, laughter erupted, sharp, familiar, cruel. I turned slowly and saw my sister Vanessa standing near the fountain in the hotel lobby, oversized sunglasses pushed into her hair, phone already raised to record. My parents flanked her like loyal sentries. Palm trees swayed outside the glass walls of the Maui resort we'd supposedly booked together months ago. "Oops," Vanessa said, not even pretending to feel bad. "Guess there was a mix-up." I stared at her, my carry-on still hooked over my shoulder, my coat damp from the sudden tropical rain. "What do you mean canceled? We're all supposed to be staying here. Dad booked this." My father cleared his throat without looking at me. "Plans changed, Helen." My mother smiled thinly. "It's just, this trip is more our speed. You're always so busy anyway." Vanessa laughed. "Yeah, this isn't really a work trip vibe." No offense. Offense was the point. I looked from one face to the next, waiting for someone, anyone, to say it was a joke. Instead, Vanessa leaned closer, lowering her voice just enough to sting. "You wouldn't really fit in with the rest of the group," she said. "The spa days. The yacht dinners. It'd be awkward." Awkward. I was the only one in my family who worked a real job. Not just worked, built something. As a regional director at a pharmaceutical company, I'd spent 15 years climbing from clinical research to executive leadership. I paid my own mortgage, my own taxes, my own flights. They, on the other hand, lived well, because Grandpa Walter paid for it. Luxury condos, leased cars, credit cards that never seemed to max out no matter how recklessly Vanessa swiped them, all funded by the same trust they liked to pretend didn't exist. Except me. I'd refused the allowance at 25. Vanessa hated me for it. "So where am I supposed to go?" I asked quietly. Vanessa shrugged. "There's a Best Western down the road. Or you can just fly back." My mother touched my arm briefly, the gesture empty. "Don't make a scene, Helen." That was when something inside me settled. Not anger, not heartbreak, but clarity. They didn't want me there. And they never had. I nodded, picked up my bag, and stepped away from the counter without another word. I felt the weight of their eyes on my back as I crossed the lobby, the soft echo of their laughter following me like spilled champagne. Outside, the air was thick and warm. I stood beneath the porte-cochere and let myself breathe. I didn't cry. I called Grandpa. He answered on the second ring. "Helen? You land okay?" "Yes," I said evenly. I did. There was a pause. He knew me well enough to hear the restraint in my voice. "What happened?" I told him everything. Not with drama. Not with bitterness. Just facts. The cancelled room. The laughter. The explanation that I didn't fit the vibe. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, he was silent for a long moment. "Thank you for telling me," he said finally. His voice was calm, but I recognized the steel beneath it. "Go enjoy yourself. Put the hotel on my card." "I'm fine," I said. "I can manage." "I know you can," he replied. "That's not the point." That night, I checked into a quiet boutique hotel overlooking the water. I ate alone on the balcony, listening to the ocean and feeling something close to peace for the first time since arriving. The next morning, my phone exploded. Vanessa first. Then my mother. Then my father. Missed calls stacking like dominoes. Finally, a text from Vanessa. "What did you say to Grandpa?" I turned on the news while sipping my coffee. A financial headline scrolled across the screen. "Walker Family Trust announces immediate restructuring." I smiled faintly. The calls kept coming. And somewhere across the island, my family was about to learn what life looked like without someone else paying the bill. I took another sip and watched the sun rise, knowing this vacation, unplanned, uninvited, and utterly mine, had just changed everything. By noon, the truth reached them. I knew because my phone stopped vibrating. Vanessa never stayed silent unless something catastrophic had happened, something money couldn't smooth over with a swipe or a smile. The missed calls ended. The texts dried up. In their place came something unfamiliar. Panic. I was sitting by the pool of my small hotel, reviewing emails from my team back in Boston, When my father finally called, his name lit up my screen like a warning. I answered on the third ring. "Helen," he said, breathless. "What did you do?" I closed my laptop. "Good morning to you too." "This isn't funny," he snapped. The cards were declined. All of them. "The condo manager just called. There's an issue with the mortgage payment." I leaned back in my chair, listening to the gentle lap of water. "That sounds stressful." "You told your grandfather lies." My mother's voice cut in. She must have been on speaker. "He froze the trust." "I told him the truth," I replied. "What he did with it was his choice." Vanessa grabbed the phone. I could hear traffic behind her, probably pacing outside some luxury boutique she could no longer afford. "You had no right," she hissed. "That money is for family." I laughed softly. Funny how I only count as family when money's involved. Silence. Then her voice dropped, venomous. "You've always been jealous." That one hurt, because it was projection. Vanessa had always measured worth in square footage and brand names. I measured it in stability, in knowing I'd be fine no matter who walked away. "I didn't take anything from you," I said evenly. "You just lost access to something you never earned." The line went dead. 2 days later, Grandpa called me himself. "I should have done this years ago," he admitted. "I convinced myself helping them was keeping the peace." "Peace built on dependency doesn't last," I said gently. He sighed. "They're furious, but they'll survive." "I know," I replied. "They just don't know how yet." When I returned home, the fallout was everywhere. Vanessa's condo was listed for sale within a week. Quietly at first, then desperately. Her leased Range Rover disappeared from her driveway. My parents' country club membership was paused pending review. Friends they'd entertained for years suddenly stopped calling. They showed up at my house on a Sunday afternoon. No warning. No apology. I opened the door and found my mother clutching her purse like a shield, my father's jaw tight, Vanessa standing slightly behind them, eyes rimmed red. "We need to talk," my mother said. I stepped aside and let them in. Not out of obligation, but because this was the last conversation we were ever going to have. They sat on my couch, surrounded by the quiet evidence of a life I'd built alone. Frame degrees. Architectural lighting. Furniture chosen for comfort, not display. Vanessa broke first. "You could fix this," she said. "Grandpa listens to you." "I won't," I said simply. My father leaned forward. "You're tearing this family apart." I met his gaze. "No. I stopped holding it together for you." My mother's eyes filled. "We made mistakes." "Yes," I said. "And I paid for them." "For years." Vanessa scoffed. "So you're just going to abandon us?" I thought of the hotel lobby. The canceled room. The laughter. "I'm choosing myself," I replied. "There's a difference." They left shortly after, anger simmering beneath forced composure. Vanessa didn't hug me. My parents didn't look back. Weeks passed. Life adjusted. Vanessa took a job, her first real one, managing a retail showroom. She hated it. My parents downsized to a modest townhome. They complained less. They listened more. Slowly, painfully, they learned what it meant to live within limits. I didn't celebrate their losses. I focused on my work, on my peace. One evening, Grandpa invited me to dinner. He looked older, lighter somehow. "I've updated my will," he said over dessert. "Everything's clear now." I nodded. "That's good." He studied me. "You're the only one who never asked." "I never wanted to owe anyone," I said. He smiled sadly. "And that's why you never will." As I drove home that night, I realized something profound. Dignity isn't loud. It doesn't demand recognition. It simply refuses to bend. My family had mistaken generosity for entitlement, wealth for worth. Losing the trust forced them to confront who they were without it. As for me, I slept better than I had in years. Because independence, once chosen, is a luxury no one can ever take away.